welcome in. This is Chiefs Chase. My name is Mike Bassano, and thank you so much for joining me here on the MidWeek Blitz.
Was 37. Mahomes with pressure finds a wide open Kelce. Travis Kelce, touchdown. 37 yards for 87.
The MidWeek Blitz is where we break down everything Kansas City Chiefs and get you ready for the upcoming game. This week, it's the Philadelphia Eagles in a rematch of Super Bowl 59. A grudge game, a revenge game, and a game that now has an increasing importance for the Kansas City Chiefs after starting 0-1 against the Los Angeles Chargers. But the thing that we got to open the show with, the number one thing, is the clowns. The clowns from the circus have decided to show up everywhere. They're on your social media feeds, they're on your televisions, and they're in your newspaper. The clowns are surrounding the Kansas City Chiefs because everyone has lost their mind into thinking that the Chiefs, starting 0-1 in Brazil against the Los Angeles Chargers when Justin Herbert plays out of his mind, and when the Chiefs are one play away, they're one play, one moment where Chris Jones decides to break contain and try to be the hero for a sack, that play would have gotten the Chiefs the ball back and a chance to score and win the game. And if that had happened, if one minute thing had changed, then the Chiefs are 1-0 and everyone's crowning them like they're crowning the Buffalo Bills who came back and won a game that they should have lost. If it weren't for Derrick Henry screwing up and fumbling a ball in the most important moment of the game, the Bills would be 0-1. But because a ball bounced the other way, everyone wants to crown the Buffalo Bills. That's trash. Just like it's trash to write off the Chiefs at 0-1, but clearly that's what everybody wants to do. We even have Chiefs fans telling me I'm overly optimistic. You think I'm overly optimistic for not thinking the Chiefs are done after an 0-1 start? You're right. No, it would be much more realistic of me to think that a team that won the last 3 straight AFC championships is done after losing by 6 points in a neutral site game. What an idiotic take that is. But they're everywhere. It's not like this is just one person. It's a lot of people that want to try to jump on top of the Chiefs are terrible bandwagon after week 1. And I'll tell you this, those are the people that are going to have egg all over their face and pretend they never even said it by week 8. Guaranteed. But let's hear from the clowns. I've given you my portion. I've told you how I feel. Let's hear from the clowns. Let's start with Colin Cowherd, a man I enjoy listening to often, but he is wrong constantly.
On the Chiefs, you can't live off slim margins. You can't keep winning one-score games. The AFC West is just too good. By the way, next up, Philadelphia, and the Chiefs are a home dog. I'm not saying they're going to go 7-10. But once you pay the quarterback, you got to start hitting on a lot of draft picks. Rashee Rice is a hit. He can't stay eligible. Travis Kelce ran over Xavier Worthy. So the NFL is engineered to bring the big dogs back to the middle. It's hard. It's really hard.
Let me say this. Colin Cowherd overreacting to the Chiefs starting 0-1 was the most painfully predictable thing in the history of sports media. Because he loves that. He'll flip-flop, by the way, in 6 weeks and be like, there's no one better than Mahomes. The Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes connection is just untouchable. Because that's what people like Colin Cowherd do. They say one thing one week, they flip-flop the next week and act like it never happened, and their listening base, who is, I guess, a compilation of total morons, believes them. They go, oh, yeah, well, he said that last week, but this week he said the total opposite. I guess that's what makes a really good sports talk show host. I like Colin, by the way. I think he's an entertaining person, but I don't take him seriously. How could anybody? He flip-flops every week. Let's go to ESPN. Marcus Spears on ESPN with his criticism of the Kansas City Chiefs.
I didn't feel like the Chiefs had any dog in them.
If you want to talk about an overreaction to one game, how about a game where Chargers come out and play really well? The Chiefs come out, look sloppy, look like they have very much a Super Bowl hangover in the first half. That's what that was. And Marcus Spears wants to say they don't have the dog in them. Let me tell you something. You go walk right up to Drew Tranquill, you look him right in the eyes and tell him that he doesn't have the dog in him, because I don't think that's going to go real well for you, Marcus Spears. So you want to overreact over one game? That's fine. That's your bag. That's your job. That's what you guys do because you think it gets you ratings. But in reality, it just makes you look like a huge pack of ignoramuses, which anybody paying attention would have already known that fact. Didn't have that dog in them. Look, they had a Super Bowl hangover for the first half. That was clear to me. There was a lot of evidence to suggest going out into a neutral site game, right? Neutral site. Just like the Super Bowl. You're traveling just like the Super Bowl. You have to travel 13 hours. Granted, the Chargers had to do this as well. But the Chargers didn't have to deal with the fact that the last game that mattered that they played wasn't at a neutral site. It wasn't at a strange time. It didn't have a bunch of hype and a big halftime show. Everything about that game triggers Super Bowl memories for those players. And for the first half, very clearly, it was a hangover. That's all it was. Yet people want to sit there and draw these massive, insane conclusions about the Kansas City Chiefs being done. These people have no idea what they're talking about. It's not based in reality. Here's the deal. The Chiefs didn't play a great game. They're going to play the Eagles this week. You're going to see a totally different football team take that field in the first half because this is Arrowhead. That's the difference between playing in Brazil and playing at Arrowhead, especially coming off of a brutal Super Bowl loss. We should have expected the Chiefs to come out and have a bit of a hangover, especially in the first half in their first game in a neutral site. But I guarantee you this, you won't see that problem this Sunday at Arrowhead because that's not how the Chiefs roll when they're in the throes of the kingdom. So what you're going to see this week is entirely different. And I think after this week, all these chatter, all this stuff, all this stuff everybody's talking, right? Everybody wants to talk. It's going to be quiet. I promise you that. And people are going to go, well, maybe we overreacted to week one. Well, no bleep. You overreacted to week one. Every single one of these stupid pundits that come on TV and a lot of people in the comments, a lot of people online, they want to tell me that the Chiefs are done. They want to say the Chiefs are over. I'm being overly optimistic. How could I not see the problems? You guys are over-obsessing over one game. That's not how this works. This is a long football season. And the Chiefs came out probably a little shell-shocked with some Super Bowl hangover. That's just the truth. Now, if they come out against the Eagles and they play another sloppy game, Travis Kelce knocks someone else out, we'll get to Travis talking about that here in a little bit. That is just, it's hard. It sucks. Because there's nothing you could do about it. Yeah, in the realm of screw-ups, it's a pretty big one. But what can you do about it? We'll hear from Travis coming up here in just a bit on the New Heights podcast. And we'll discuss that too. But here's the deal. If the Chiefs come out against the Eagles and they play like that again, okay. But they won't. They won't. I can't imagine a world where the Chiefs come out and for the first half look so out of sync. I can't imagine that. In fact, I think you can make an amazing argument just rewatching the Chiefs and Chargers game that Xavier Worthy was supposed to be such a massive part of the offense that for the whole first half, the Chiefs couldn't get it figured out. It wasn't until halftime when they had time to adjust that the offense was able to get moving. So when you lose a key player like that, a guy that is the most explosive weapon on the team on the third play of the game, it's just terrible luck. It's an accident. It stunk. But to look at that and say, well, that's the Chiefs offense. That's who they are. It's just not true. It's an ignoramus comment, yet I'm seeing it everywhere. So if Xavier Worthy is back, he has a dislocated shoulder, he's day-to-day. Let's get to Xavier Worthy. We'll also get to Travis Kelce talking about him here in just a couple of minutes. But if Xavier Worthy is back, and he's in a brace, which I don't know. Dislocated shoulders are tricky. I've had many. I've had surgery scars on both shoulders from them because I tore everything. All the ligaments and the labrum. If there is not structural damage, he can come back with a brace because Xavier Worthy doesn't have to tackle anybody. If you play defense, a dislocated shoulder is a death sentence because you got to wrap people up. How can you wrap people up and take them down in a violent way when your arm's kind of really unstable? But if you're catching the ball and you protect him, which means you put a brace on him, you don't play the big deep balls, you just get him the short passes so he can elevate and play really well in that state. In the short pass plays and the ability to use his legs. Well, then Xavier Worthy can still be a really effective wide receiver. I would say to slow play him. Don't throw him out there right away if you don't have to. I understand. Everybody wants to win. But you got to think about Xavier Worthy's health. And really, we all have to remember the long term of the season. I understand the overreaction to the AFC West and everyone going 1-0 except the Chiefs. I get that. But don't let that kind of panic force you to really overthink what's going on with Xavier Worthy. You got to slow play him. If they decide to play him, they decide to play him. But I still think they have to protect him. Now, Travis Kelce, here's Travis in his words about crashing into Xavier Worthy, and he really, he couldn't feel worse.
I'm supposed to be running my route at depth for Worthy, so it's frustrating for me. I was trying to kind of set up my guy to be able to get in a position and it all just happened pretty quick. And I just got to be better, man. I'm 13 years in the league. There's no excuse for me running into my own guys like that and being able to play fast and help him out. Worthy had his guy beat and we're out the gate and that game starts completely different.
Right.
Instead, I'm not sure where he is exactly in terms of health wise, but I'm hoping that we get him back as fast as possible.
Here's the deal, man. You got to move on from it. I understand it stinks. Like, I am extremely upset by what happened to Xavier Worthy, but nobody's more upset about it than Xavier and then, of course, Travis Kelce. He's upset about it, but there's nothing we can do. It happened. It was a freak accident. I do question about Travis's playing weight. He dropped weight, and then a linebacker put a little bit of heat on him, and he dropped right into Xavier Worthy's route line. With the lack of hitting in practice, the lack of hitting in preseason, with all that stuff, when you start moving at full speed, guys start hitting you, that lighter frame could end up being a detriment to Travis Kelce because he got knocked off his square pretty easily on that play. So that to me is the only concern would be, is your playing weight maybe a little too light? Which is an easy fix. You're in Kansas City. Eat some barbecue, baby. Then Travis gets that weight up. If, in fact, that's the problem. And frankly, I think we have to look at it. You got to be able to hold your square when you're running on a route, especially going 5 yards deep. But we also have to look at Xavier Worthy. I said this after the game. This is not some new thing. I said this right after the game. Xavier Worthy needs his head on a swivel because he was less than 5 yards across the line of scrimmage. Anybody could have taken a shot at him. So you got to be aware of that. As a wide receiver, you got to be aware. And he wasn't. And that's just the sloppy play. So we can keep reaching back to the sloppy play or we can move forward. And frankly, it's time for everybody to just go forward. It stinks. We hope that Xavier Worthy comes back very soon. I'm sitting here hoping all the time that we get to see Xavier Worthy back on the field. Hell, Xavier Worthy's on my fantasy team. Not that that matters a lot, but I'm just saying my fantasy team might be cursed. I had Christian McCaffrey last year. Starting to feel that way. Now I'm going to have to stop drafting Chiefs players. That's what's going to happen. I'm going to stop drafting Chiefs players. Does anybody else do that? Where your fantasy team, it just seems to be injury-ridden every single season, so you got to stop drafting players from your favorite team? I might. The evidence is mounting. The evidence of my superstition is mounting. Now, here's one upside. If we want to find a silver lining of Xavier Worthy getting injured, here's a potential silver lining. Travis's accountability, being the elder statesman of the team, a future Hall of Famer, and the greatest tight end of all time, holding himself accountable publicly for Xavier Worthy getting injured, it could bring the team even closer together. And that also goes for Chris Jones taking accountability right after the game for trying to go for the sack instead of holding contain on Justin Herbert. Those kinds of things from big-time veteran leaders, they can really help the rest of the team hold themselves accountable, because if Travis is going to do it, if Chris Jones is going to do it, then if you're the guy who's maybe in his second or third year on the team, you sure as hell better do it. So the accountability shown by Travis Kelce and Chris Jones this week, I think, is a massive positive for this team going forward. And it's something that really could help elevate the chemistry of the Kansas City Chiefs. That's a silver lining, though, because we would much rather have Chris Jones kept contained and Travis Kelce not blast Xavier Worthy over the middle on the third play of the game. Absolutely. All of that's true. But the fact is, there is a silver lining there. Sometimes we got to dig a little to find it, but we found it. It's a silver lining. Now, Tyreek Hill, the rumor mill is a turning. The rumor mill is a turning. Tyreek Hill to Kansas City. Nope, not for me. I see people talking about it. I see people want it. There are multiple issues with it, but I don't want Tyreek Hill for free. I think that's someone who has brought too much drama and not enough talent left. This isn't 2016 anymore, guys. He's not worth the drama. He's not worth the issues. And I see him over there pouting on the sideline with the Miami Dolphins, all upset. And all I see is a guy who hasn't grown into a good teammate yet. A guy who still wants to act like he's above everybody else and like he's the only one who matters. And if you think Tyreek Hill would take a pay cut to come to Kansas City, you haven't read about the fact that he has 37 children. So no, I do not want Tyreek Hill in Kansas City. I want Tyreek Hill to stay exactly where he deserves to be. The Miami Dolphins. A pathetic situation. But I understand where Chiefs fans are coming from. I don't want to be like, I'm not talking down to anybody. Well, maybe to a little to Tyreek, but I'm not talking down to anybody about that for wanting Tyreek Hill. I understand why you would want Tyreek Hill. The Chiefs have Xavier Worthy with the dislocated shoulder. Rashee Rice, 6-week suspension. You got to be looking around going, what can we do? So the idea of looking at Tyreek Hill, who is drowning in the nothingness that is the Miami Dolphins and their Mike McD head coach. I just had an itchy nose. That wasn't anything. While I understand the idea of wanting to go get him, I don't think it's worth the baggage. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there are a lot of other people out there that think Tyreek Hill sets the Chiefs apart. I don't. I don't think Tyreek's the same player he was 2 years ago. I don't think he's the same player he was last year, which wasn't nearly as good as 2 years ago. So I think you would be getting a guy who's a shell of his former self. He doesn't have it like he used to, and he brings even more baggage somehow than he did back when the Chiefs reached to draft him in the 5th round in 2016. Let's not forget, this guy's been a problem since the very beginning, and his problems are seemingly growing exponentially, probably in part because he's in Miami. You know how much trouble a rich, famous person can get into in Miami? Well, you found out. Go watch Tyreek Hill. Go see how Tyreek Hill's doing right now. That's how much trouble a rich, famous person gets into in Miami. So, no, I don't think bringing him in is a good idea at all. Even if you get him for free, I wouldn't take him. And I understand. Also, I think that one sloppy game has made a lot of people want to just go, no, we need to change something. I don't love that. I don't. I think there's a lot of overreaction, and Tyreek Hill is part of the week 1 overreaction, and not just for the Chiefs. Not that I believe in the Dolphins, because I don't think anyone believed in the Dolphins before this season. But definitely for the Chiefs. The week 1 overreaction would be too much. And there is a little more we need to get to on that week 1 and why this week against the Eagles is such a massive litmus test for the Kansas City Chiefs. And we'll get to that coming up here in just a few minutes. But first, Chiefs versus Eagles, the rematch, it means everything now. I mean, I'm sorry. Normally, I don't want to get too excited about a Week 2 game, but this means everything for the Kansas City Chiefs psyche. Beating the Eagles would mean more for the Kansas City Chiefs psyche going into the rest of this season than anything else I could possibly imagine. Starting out 1-0, starting out 0-1, it stinks. Starting out 0-2 and losing to the Eagles again after losing to them in the Super Bowl, that's devastating to the psyche of the team. And I know we don't want to overreact to just 2 weeks. I surely won't overreact to 1. But if the Chiefs go 0-2, yeah, you think this week's been bad? Just wait for next week, especially with a loss at home. So this game is incredibly important, and every player on that team knows that. Every single one of them. And they're going to be locked in. They're going to be real tight going into that game and making sure that every single thing is disciplined, because the sloppiness that we saw in Brazil cannot happen this week. And all of them know that. So this game is incredibly important for the psyche, because going 0-2 and losing to the Eagles again, you want to tell me that's not going to psychologically affect this team? It absolutely will. So the Chiefs have to do everything in their power this week to be as disciplined and focused as humanly possible, because the idea of going and losing to this team would be absolutely devastating by every single measure. So that's why this is the week. If you want to get fired up and locked in and feel like a game's the Super Bowl by week 2, this is the one. It's a big deal, man. It's a big effing deal, this game. It's probably the biggest week 2 game I could ever remember for the Kansas City Chiefs, because you start 0-1, right, and have a game that's already a little bit of a blow to the psyche, especially for Travis Kelce because of what happened to Xavier Worthy. And then the next week, you have a rematch from the Super Bowl as your home opener, nationally televised on Fox. Fox is carrying no other games this afternoon for the late afternoon window on Sunday. It's just the Chiefs and the Eagles. So nationally televised, rematch of the Super Bowl. Holy crap, this is huge. Probably the most important week 2 game I could possibly remember for the Kansas City Chiefs. And frankly, they're going up against, again, one of the top rosters in the NFL. I know the Eagles lost a lot, but they are still one of the top rosters in the NFL. So this win would be huge. Not just for the perception, not just for the psyche, but for the fact that you would know across the board that the Kansas City Chiefs, deep in their heart, could go up against a great roster filled with studs in the Philadelphia Eagles and beat them in their house, in the kingdom. That would be huge. It would be everything. And that's what we're hoping for the Kansas City Chiefs. More on this game. I mean, this is for, I think, all the gifts. All the gifts that get posted on my posts, on the Chiefs posts, on the NFL posts, all the gifts of the Eagles winning the Super Bowl with the Chiefs. We see them all. They're devastating. They're traumatizing. All the gifts of, oh, look at the confetti falling and look at the score 40-6, 40-22, but it was really 40-6, bro. This is for that. The tormenting we've had to endure for the entire offseason of everybody posting the score, posting the gifts, and trolling us for months. This is the moment that we get our retribution by seeing the Kansas City Chiefs take down the Philadelphia Eagles, get their revenge, get their retribution game, and put a stamp on it at Arrowhead Stadium. That's the most important thing about this week, is that we get to shut those people up. I keep saying we because I'm getting that passionate about this. I really am. I'm getting that I never say we because I'm not on the team. But I'm feeling so intense right now. I'm like, no, we got to get those guys. Because it's important, man. This is the game. For the early regular season, this is it. It doesn't get more important. Of a week 2 game, it doesn't get more important than this. To try to fend off starting 0-2 by losing again to the Eagles after the entire offseason and getting trolled by those Birds fans, those douchebags. Go Birds, shut up. That's all I've had to say all offseason because I have no other leg to stand on. The score was 40-6 before they took the foot off the gas pedal. So I have no other comeback other than shut up. So hopefully this week we'll have a better idea. After Sunday, we'll have a better comeback. That's the hope. You start to take it personally after a while. You do. And I know there's a lot of Chiefs fans that are going to be out there at Arrowhead tailgating, getting ready for this game, and it's going to be anxious. You're going to have a little anxiety. But I'm telling you this, if the Chiefs can get the game plan designed the right way, I mean, like guys like Tyquan Thornton, Juju Smith-Schuster, get them involved early. Look, Juju still has a lot left in the tank. Juju Smith-Schuster keeps showing us that he has a lot left in the tank. You got to draw up more plays for Juju. You got to get him out there. He's not even 30 years old yet. He has a ton to bring to the team, and the Chiefs need him badly. Tyquan Thornton shows that he can be a great deep ball catcher. Use him. These are the guys that have to be used early in the game plan. That is the focus of this game for the Chiefs, to put up points. And I know it's going to be hard. Yeah, Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy are really good players. Yeah, it's going to be hard. Jalen Royals probably still out. Yeah, it's going to be hard. It'd be great if we had a season where Patrick Mahomes could get through September without his wide receiver core being decimated, but unfortunately, that's not our life. The current reality we're in is that it stings like hell, but this is it. Juju has a lot left in the tank. Tyquan can catch the ball deep. Obviously, you have Travis Kelce, who had a fantastic touchdown against the Chargers. I know everybody's still ragging on him, but he had a fantastic touchdown. Got open, hit the afterburners, got to the end zone. He can still do it, guys. So there's enough on this offense. Kareem Hunt, give him the ball more. Isaiah Pacheco, against the Chargers, Pacheco had 5 carries for 25 yards. That's 5 yards per carry. Why does he only have 5 carries? So it's not like the Chiefs are done. It's not like, oh, well, if you don't have Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice, you might as well just chalk up the L's. No, that's not the world, especially when you have Patrick Mahomes. Let's talk about Patrick Mahomes for a second. We have the keys to the game. We have the number one key to the game that we'll get to here in just a second. But let's talk about Patrick Mahomes. This man is one of the most incredible players I've ever seen. I think he's probably the most incredible quarterback I've ever seen in my life. And you know what? He doesn't get the credit he deserves. But that's part of it. That's part of being great. Tom Brady didn't get the credit he deserved for his entire career. Really, only after Tampa Bay won the Super Bowl did we start to see Tom Brady start to get the credit he deserves. And now that he's retired, he gets all the credit. But I've talked about that. It's going to take Patrick Mahomes leaving the NFL and getting a broadcasting job for people to look at his career in retrospect and understand how unbelievably incredible Patrick Mahomes is. The man's 29 years old. He has 3 Super Bowls and 2 MVPs. He is on a fast track to the Hall of Fame, and of any active player in the NFL, he has the highest Hall of Fame score. And he's not even 30. So Patrick Mahomes is the GOAT. He's going to be crowned as the GOAT when it's all said and done. And anybody trying to dispute him isn't watching games. The only upside of that game in Brazil on Friday is that the world that wasn't watching Mahomes all last year and was just trashing him, they got to see this is Superman. Sometimes the rest of the team just doesn't show up for him and he has to put on the Superman cape and do it by himself. But make no mistake, the Chiefs' offensive woes last year had nothing to do with Patrick Mahomes. They had to do with protecting the defense and trying to play a style of football that could get them to a Super Bowl. And look what happened. They got there. So I won't handle any Patrick Mahomes slander. Not here, not now, not ever. The key to the game against the Philadelphia Eagles is one sentence. Patrick Mahomes can't do it by himself. That's the key to the game. The rest of the players on the Chiefs offense especially, but also on the defense, specifically the secondary and the pass rush, all of them should be embarrassed by the fact that Patrick Mahomes put in such an immaculate performance in the second half of the game against the Chargers and nobody could help him. It was like watching it was like watching Jon Snow pull out the sword, take on everybody, and he damn near got it done. If the Chiefs defense could have come up with one stop, he would have got it done. That's what Patrick Mahomes does. So the key to the game is help your freaking quarterback. Because Pat can't do it by himself. He can't play all 22 positions, and frankly, he couldn't. But the fact is, if all the guys that play in those positions had the dedication and the grit and the work ethic of Patrick Mahomes, the Chiefs would have beat the Chargers. I guarantee that. It's not a talent thing. Mahomes comes out and he plays his heart out because he practices his heart out. And I got some questions about some of those guys, especially on the defense, about how hard they practiced. How much time they put into the offseason. How much time they spent not going to Cancun and going to the weight room. I have some questions. And I think other people should too. Because if that guy's going to go out there and look like a man playing by himself, then it's going to be a very frustrating season. Don't turn Patrick Mahomes into Joe Burrow because that's trash. And it's not a personnel problem, guys. It's an effort problem. The personnel is in place. Brett Veach has done a phenomenal job at getting the personnel in place to win in Kansas City. We've seen it for years. So the issue we saw in week 1 was a lack of preparation and a lack of effort. And that's not acceptable. So the Chiefs, the number one key, you want to beat the Eagles? Help your quarterback. And that means the coaching staff too, by the way. Give Isaiah Pacheco the ball. 5 carries, 25 yards, averaging 5 yards a pop, and he only gets 5 touches. Come on, man. Got to be better than that. Kareem Hunt too. Kareem Hunt was working early on. Why'd they go away from him? It felt like this desperation that Matt Nagy has to prove that he can be a great passing offensive coordinator, like he wants another head coaching job or something. Hey, Matt, just be lucky you're here, okay? be lucky you're here and call the plays to win the game. Don't try to get your next head coaching job. We saw what happened in Chicago, okay? Don't try to get your next head coaching job. Just call the plays to win the game. Have some balance. Give Kareem and Isaiah the ball. Help your quarterback. Now, we'll end with this. I'm sorry, I'm frustrated about it. As positive as I am about the potential of this team to get better, I'm still frustrated about the fact that they should have beat the Chargers. I believe that. I believe that in my heart. The Chiefs should have beat the Chargers. Take away the sloppiness. Take away the miscues. Have Jawan Taylor stop being a total effing disaster. The Chiefs beat the Chargers. They had the tools. They had the pieces. This is not a Brett Veach problem. That's a fact. But I want to wrap up with this. Because as much as I hate people hearing, as much as I hate hearing people say that the Chiefs lacked intensity and they didn't have that dog in them against the LA Chargers, it's a hard thing to argue against, isn't it? What I will say is this. There are excuses for Friday's game. The Friday game against the Chargers. The loss against the Chargers, there are excuses for that. Legitimate excuses about going to Brazil. The Chiefs have to travel more than any team in the NFL because they're so popular. That's part of the territory. They had to go into a game after having a Super Bowl hangover. They had a tough first half, I think in large part because of the Super Bowl hangover. However, all those excuses, potentially valid. This Sunday at Arrowhead, against the Philadelphia Eagles, those excuses are gone. The Chiefs have no excuse now. There's not going to be any, oh, well, this happened or no. Your excuses are, the Chiefs have used up all the excuses in 1 week because the excuses aren't there. You're at Arrowhead. This is home. This is the place where you dominate every single playoffs. This is the place where nobody can come in and beat you. So if you go into Arrowhead and you play the same way you did in Sao Paulo, I'm going to be shocked. I'm going to be floored. And I'm going to be upset because the excuses, the valid ones from week 1, they are gone in week 2. So the Chiefs have a game that you won't call it a must win, but for the Chiefs' psyche, it is an incredibly important win. And it's one where if the Chiefs fall to 0-2, losing to the Eagles after the Super Bowl, oh my God, it's going to be hard. I'm going to be hurting. You're going to be hurting. And don't tell me that those players won't be hurting. No amount of money is going to fix it. If you go 0-2, get stomped by the Eagles again and in your own house, then it's time for me a little bit to hit the panic button. I know, and it would be fast for me, by the way. I have never hit the panic button after week 2. Never in my life. But if the Chiefs lose against the Eagles, go 0-2, losing to the team they lost to the Super Bowl, they lost to in the Super Bowl last year, yeah, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a worry. And I'm probably going to hit the panic button, depending on how it happens, right? If it's 24-0 at halftime, then yeah. Panic button's getting smashed. But I'm saying it depends on how it happens. However, the upside of this, the other side, is what it could be for the Chiefs if they win. It'll be a cleansing game for the Chiefs if they can beat the Philadelphia Eagles. The cleansing, they will feel like they were cleansed by the waters of Lake Minnetonka by Prince himself if the Chiefs can beat the Eagles, because the psyche upgrade they will get from having that win in Arrowhead, avenging last year's loss and avenging last week's loss against the Chargers, getting back to 1-1 and getting back on track will do everything for the Kansas City Chiefs. So as much as this could be a panic game if the Chiefs lose, it will be a huge elevation if the Chiefs win. And I have never in my life seen a week 2 game be more important than the Chiefs and the Eagles. This has been Chiefs Chase, the Midweek Blitz. I'm Mike Bassano. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with me and enjoying your week with a little Chiefs talk here on Chiefs Chase. Have an awesome week. Enjoy the game, and I will see you right after.